I'm the guy behind Counterattack, and I thought tonight we would do a wee video and a live stream too to tell you about something new that we're launching. I did a bit of teaser for this a couple of days ago, but joining me to help us reveal what's happened is Danny Brown and Sam Young. How are you doing, guys?
Good, thank you, Colin. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I've got a glass of whiskey, or I think it's rum actually, and we've got a new product launch, so things couldn't be more exciting. Why are we here tonight, Sam?
We are here because we are launching a new online playing experience for all of you Counterattack fans.
That's right.
It is... Go on, Colin. Sorry, I'll leave it
to you. Oh, no. You can fire away. Come on, Sam.
It is the Counterattack World Cup edition on TableTopia.
Counterattack World Cup edition. Dan is about to share his screen and show us what it looks like. Here it comes.
Indeed.
Dan, you want to talk us through what we're seeing here? Because that's not one counterattack. That looks like 2.5.
It is indeed. So the World Cup Counterattack edition brings you kind of 16 new unique teams. So nations from around the world. So 16 kind of nations and their corresponding counters. So there's 16 new kits. So we have Australia, we have Argentina, Brazil, Chile, England, of course. Their arch nemesis is Germany. We have the Greeks, notorious for knocking out England at the Euros, which we won't talk about at all. We have Ivory Coast, we have Japan, we have Mexico, Nigeria, Portugal, only Scotland,
yes.
Spain, and the USA. So 16 kind of unique teams, and each kind of club or each nation in the game has 18 new unique player cards that kind of complement the style of each nation. So as you'll see, if I turn these over, we have nations, and each of the nations have different kind of abilities based on their kind of attributes. So they are grouped into kind of pace, dribbling, heading, shooting, and tackling. And as you can see, each nation has a different kind of strength and weakness. The Greeks notorious for being slow, apparently, no pace. But as you can see, as I kind of share these out, each of the nations has strengths and weaknesses. So we have teams that are really good at stuff. We have teams that are kind of in the middle. So they're kind of like Australia, that are very kind of intermediate. And then we have hard teams that are lower on the stats, and we'll come back to those, I'm sure, in due course. But we also have kind of two new pitches. This new pitch, which is the perfectly aligned symmetrical pitch that you guys would have been playing on TableTopia. We have the muddy version that kind of introduces a few kind of wet kind of pitch rules and muddy pitch rules that affect kind of your standard passing and high passes. And then we have with some lovely side rules that complement it as well. So for, the quick games, 15 minutes a half, we have that also.
Right, so
a little bit of an overview.
New pitches, new teams, new player cards. That's quite a lot of new player cards in there too. Sam, you helped to design the skills on the player cards. Can you talk us through that experience of how you came to make them all?
Well, it all began with a massive spreadsheet. There was another person in the whole TableTopia group who, I think it was Michael Sinner, apologies if it wasn't you and there's someone else going, it was me, who did a database of all of the current players' stats. So from that, I got all of the averages of every single stat, so the average of pace throughout every single player, dribbling, heading, etc. And from that was sort of able to create a baseline of almost like, an online RPG where you get some allocated points to certain attributes. And then obviously we came up with the teams and just sort of came up with different areas in which, they'd be strong in some areas and others not. For example, England, we've got us great at shooting, but very poor at dribbling. And then from that, it sort of worked in a way of, in the certain skill, you'll have a certain amount of skill points less to allocate for that area, as opposed to a team who are stronger, who would then obviously have more points. So what you're hopefully looking for is teams that you play with, for example, like say England, going, I'm not going to be able to run with the ball with these, their dribbling's terrible, but they can really shoot. I can shoot from outside of the box, I can do this. So obviously each team will have a different play style. Little things I added in to sort of make that apparent is, so for example, you will only have a 6 in a certain stat if your team specialises in that stat. So if your speciality isn't dribbling, the highest you'll get is a 5. Same with every other stat across the board. And then obviously if you're weak in that, it's apparent, it's very evident that you'll be going, these guys really can't run or dribble or shoot or anything. And just as a whole was able to create it so that you'll want to play as every single country, because every single country will have a different way to play.
Now, I watched England the other night, and they certainly did not have 3 stars for shooting. But nevertheless, I've played this game a couple of times. I played as Greece against Brazil. I happened to win the match with a last-minute long-range shot because Greece shooting is great and the Brazil goalkeeper is terrible. But in all honesty, I was very lucky, and I had to change my tactics in order to be successful. Because Greece, as you said already, are super slow. A few good technical players, reasonably good at tackling. But when you're so slow, you have to change your strategies. And San and Dam, I know you've played quite a few times. What did you find when you played this game?
I guess I'll start first. I think it changed the experience for me in that, I think a big part of the counter-attack kind of classic edition is the draft. So you've almost got in your mind before you start drafting, okay, this is how I want to play. I want to do, as Marty said earlier, I want to do the kind of rock and roll football. That's how I want to go. I want players that can, do this and do that. So you're almost looking for that with a draft. Whereas I think the really exciting thing about this, and the thing that I've really enjoyed, as me and Sam have played it, is you get given your team, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I can't play that 3-5-2. Maybe I can't play, that kind of all-out attack. Maybe I can't play with nippy wingers. Trying to play with Greece, there is no Ruiz that can kind of get on the end of those long balls. So you end up adapting your style. So for me, when I normally play TableTopia or normally play counter-attack on TableTopia, if I've definitely got those 2 wide guys, I'm probably giving away secrets for the playoffs, actually. But I tend to like kind of playing with 2 wide guys and knocking the ball over long, using a 6 pacer or a 5 pacer to kind of get there. Whereas with these teams, you can't really do that. You've got to kind of play to their strengths. So, playing with Greece or, playing with kind of Nigeria, where shooting is a bit of a problem for those guys, but they have got a lot of pace and physicality kind of about them. It's definitely a unique experience. It's definitely different. I think it's... I think that's kind of where the challenge is that you get given a group of players and you have to try and figure that out. I don't know if that's the same for you, Sam.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's sort of another thing I tried to do when doing the stats is I sort of had certain areas for teams where I'd be like, right, these guys will have some good fullbacks, some good strikers, some good midfielders, so obviously it would alternate. And every single player in each team has a star man who's sort of got, if you play with them, you'll go, oh, he's the best player in this team. And again, they're all for different positions. So, I mean, yeah, me and Dan have played 5 or 6 of these games with different teams, and I don't think I've played the same formation for one of them because the teams just, you look at it and you go, well, I'd be better off playing with these. Like, next up against Dan, I'm actually playing as England, and what better way to play than a 4-4-2? And I looked at my team and I thought, 4-4-2 here. Well, when I played as Greece, it was a 3-4-3. That's it. Just every team, you sort of are rotating it around, going, well, how will this team work best for me? This team's good at tackling, so I might need to do this. It's just a great variety for your teams.
What this version doesn't quite have yet, but will have very soon, is the weather cards, which tell us how the muddy pitch influences the game. And Thomas, who's on this call with a friend of his, developed those cards, so we'll see them put in here. And if you don't want to play the World Cup cards, then the same set of cards who are in the original TableTopia are all here too. You can mix them, you can do whatever you like with them, to be quite honest. But we'll also set up some World Cup rules if you did want to play a World Cup tournament. Things like bookings and injuries carrying on from one game to the next. One other thing to say here is that this version of Counter-Attack took a lot of time and effort to put together. It's available as a premium game on TableTopia, or it will be available as a premium game on TableTopia soon. Premium account costs around about £3 a month. It's $5 a month, and that gives you access to all of the premium games on TableTopia, as well as being able to run, I think, 6 games at any one time, and the standard account only lets you run 2. The existing version of Counterattack on TableTopia remains unchanged, so it's got all the features that we're all used to, and that will be free for anyone to play. So it's only if you want to play the World Cup edition you need the premium account. So Dan and Sam, I think we've given a good overview here. Is there anything we want to say before we say our goodbyes?
I think we're good.
You've made a right mess of that board, Dan.
I know, I have.
Hope you're going to tidy that up.
I get about that at home as well. So.
I think it would be worth mentioning, Dan, there's now 2 extra statistics for every goalkeeper.
Oh, yes. Great one.
Oh, yes, indeed. Great shout out, Sam. So, yes, you'll probably notice that a few of the keepers, or every keeper in this game, has 2 additional stats. So they have, as well as the stats that you'll have with your standard set, they'll have a handling and a high pass stat. And the handling works the same as a kind of referee's leniency rating or an injury rating. In the after you've saved a shot, so you roll your 3, you roll higher than the striker's shooting kind of roll, you then save it rather than up to chance to say, you roll higher than a 3 and it's a save, lower than a 3 and it's a corner. In this case, what you do is you roll against the keeper's handling stats, and if it is the same or higher, it's a corner. And if you roll under the keeper's handling stat, he's held it and he's made good on it. So I think what it kind of does is just kind of give you a bit of in between choosing your international keepers, because some are kind of maybe better at saving but not so good at handling. If we look at the English keeper, he's got a great saving rating of 6, but actually he only holds the ball on a roll of 1, so you probably need to expect some corners if you're putting Aldebar in. And what they've also got is a high pass stat. So from goal kicks, it will now, in the World Cup version, from goal kicks, you'll roll as if you were doing a high pass from a player. So accurate or inaccurate passes can happen from a goalkeeper using a high pass from his goal kick. And also it kind of opens up the play. So if you are playing kind of a high line and you want your Brazilian keeper up there, with his dribbling of 3, you can also kind of play that sweeper keeper and play the ball back to him, knowing that he can put in a pretty decent kind of accurate high pass over the top if you're pushing those players forward. So that's it.
And that comes with a slight evolution in some of the design aspects as well, which some people might have picked up on as the game moves into, I guess, its next iteration. And what we're probably going to see, in fact, what we are going to see in the physical version is those handling and high pass stats being introduced to future versions of the game. And I'm working out a way that those of you who already have the game can get their hands on the handling high pass stats for your current goalkeepers. So folks, thanks very much for watching this broadcast, being here live, or watching it and catch up to find out about this World Cup edition of Counterattack on TableTopia. It's due to launch very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for when that is available. And there are other exciting developments currently in the Counterattack world, but still I can't tell you about the other ones just yet. Perhaps there'll be another video about them at some point in the future. But for now, it's time to say our goodbyes. Thanks for watching.